you so much for sitting down with me today. This is Kaysha Hawkins, and she is here to talk about something that we really need to discuss. So we're just going to jump right into it. So we're talking about child abuse today, and specifically sexual child abuse. So when we were talking earlier, before we even started recording, you were saying that your father is the one that molested you.
Yes.
So can you just start and tell me, what do you remember about y'all's relationship, just as father-daughter?
I don't ever think I can say I had a father-daughter relationship, you know. When I look at other people, I kind of reminisce. I'm like, oh, I wish I had that relationship, you know, with my dad. You know, some people, and I'm not going to cry, but, you know, some people, you know, they have that relationship, and then you think about, oh, well, I had this my whole life, so I never got to experience what it was for a father, I guess, to love his daughter the way that she should be loved, you know. So to me, it was kind of like I don't even want to call it a friendship, because that's not what I experienced. It was just something just so traumatic for me, you know, growing up, because it was kind of like a bribe type of relationship, I guess. If you do this, hey, you know, I'll get you this, you know. But I'm like, you know, that's not how it should have been. So
Was he in the household with you growing up?
Yes.
All right. And how many siblings did you have?
I have one sibling that lived with me, my brother, and then I have another sibling, but she didn't live with us. So it was just my brother and I in the house.
Okay. So did you see a difference in the relationship and how he treated you and your brother in the house?
I did. I mean, you know, a father-son is kind of like, I guess, hold him close, tight, you know, because my brother was younger than me. So it's not so much that he could do to protect me, you know, about what I went through. So I was kind of his covering, you know, or he was my covering, at least I can say, but I would kind of hide, you know, underneath my brother to refrain from having to experience the things that I experienced in the home. So.
And what did you see as far as the relationship between him and your mother? Was it normal? Was it volatile?
I think it all just came down to, you know, I don't know what it really was, but now I've learned that he was just I guess a jealous person, perhaps. And I don't really know, to be honest, because it wasn't that he argued with her all the time, but it was something that he disagreed with, and if he didn't like it, he didn't like it, you know. So it was kind of that relationship that I saw growing up. I mean, before everything started, I'm like, yeah, that's my dad, you know, I love him, you know, he loves my mom, you know, but as time grew, things got a little more hectic, I guess. I guess what grown-ups would go through. At that time I was a child, so just to, I guess, experience what grown-ups had to experience, and, you know, there was kind of like an argument or something, you know, just normal stuff that they would, you know, go through as a married couple. So yeah.
Okay. So do you ever remember ever feeling safe with your father? Just ever?
I don't think so. No.
Never.
I don't, like I said, it was very vague growing up, because I was always with my grandmother and my aunt. That's kind of who we grew up around, my mom's family. So that's all I know, you know, that was my protection, you know. My mom was my protection, my grandmother, my aunt was my protection. So when I would go over there, it's kind of like I never wanted to go home, but they never knew exactly why that was, you know. You know, you cry for your grandmother, oh, I want to stay, I don't want to go, I don't want to go. You know, they just thought that was normal behavior, I guess. So, but I knew. I just didn't want to go home.
Right.
You know.
You did not want to go home.
Right.
So are you able to remember the first incident?
I just remember me being in the bathtub, and I guess I don't know what age, but I just see in my mind that I was a small child. And I guess I was running water. My mom ran water for me to get in the bathtub. So I went into the restroom. I think I don't know if I was fully dressed or if I wasn't dressed. I think he just came in. My dad just came in, and I don't know, he made this little joke or something, pulled his pants down, showed me his butt, and laughed about it. And at that time, that's when I know it all began, because after that, it's just, everything just went downhill. But from that point on, that was kind of really weird to me. I didn't understand that, but that's what happened. You know, you showed me your butt. What does that mean?
And that just, it continued
Right,
and it
exactly.
escalated and
Exactly.
it turned into physical touch
Exactly.
and things like that.
Exactly.
Okay. So once that began, was there any behaviors that maybe your mom noticed or your grandma that you were acting differently or?
I think I kind of just hit that really good.
You did.
Because I think I was scared. You know, my mom always told us growing up, you know, hey, if anyone ever, you know, we give that, I give that to my kids now because I'm already very aware, you know, I'm already nervous. So I'm kind of like, if anyone does this to you, make sure you tell me. My mom did that. And, you know, like I said, I don't blame her for any of this, you know, it's just kind of like I just hit it really good away. So I guess no one would see or have any consequences. I guess I was trying to protect someone when someone was doing something to me, but I was trying to protect that person. So that's just my nature, I guess. I'm just a very loving and protective person. But and again, you know, he was my dad, so
so
that's what I was doing, protecting him. You know, very confusing.
Could imagine.
Yes.
So did you like find him trying to make opportunities to be alone with you? Now that you can remember, like purposefully doing that?
Yes, pretty much. I think I went to church with him one night. I don't know, because I knew what it would come down to in the beginning, but I mean at the end, but I guess I went to church with him this one particular night. I don't know what day, but I know I was in the car with him. I don't know why, it was just me and him. I don't know where my brother was, where my mom was. I don't know. I guess I was a church goer. I love going to church as a child. That's what I know. That's what I wanted to do. And I guess he just went that day and I went with him. And so we were coming back home and he was like, hey, you know, I guess he wanted me to grab on his penis and, you know, masturbate and, you know, so it was things like that kind of just took me off guard. And, you know, those things, you know, I just hid to myself, you know. It won't happen again, you know, or I'm just going to forget about it. You know, that's the past. It's a new day. Let me try to get over that little hurdle or whatever I'm going through. So, I couldn't look myself in the mirror those times, you know. I felt like I was the bad person, you know, because of what he was doing to me. So.
Did he ever threaten you? Or?
He did. And that one particular time, he threatened me that day because I said, I'm going to tell my mom exactly what's going on in this house. You know, he was cutting hair because he used to cut hair at the house and whatever. But I told him that particular day, I said, you know, I'm going to tell my mom, this is the day I'm telling her today. He said, well, you tell her I'm going to kill all of you. You know, and now I'm kind of like, I should have just said it because he wasn't going to do anything. He wasn't going to do anything because he was scared. You know, it's kind of like, I'm talking big, but you're not going to do anything. That was the kind of person he was. And that I can see now because I was very scared, but I was like, you know, well, I guess I shouldn't tell her, you know, because he said he's going to kill all of us, you know, and I'm just not going to have that to happen, you know, because it was an incident where we were driving. I guess he got mad and he said, I'm going to run us all into the wall, you know. And as a child and your brother is back there, your mom's in the car screaming, you know, it's kind of like, what is going on? You know, something's just not right, you know.
I find that to be a common threat amongst abusers telling, you know, their victims, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill your family. That is very common. And so imagine at your age, that's pretty scary.
That's
pretty scary. So how did you, when you started dating, do you feel like, or could you date? I mean, because y'all were really heavily into church, right?
Right. I dated, and, you know, of course, your mom's kind of like, oh, no, you can't date, you know, you're not grown, you know, you got to wait to this age. But, you know, to me, what I say now, you know, what I've explained to her, you know, those times that I got in trouble, you know, I've done that because of what he was doing to me. You know, it's not an excuse, you know, but the things that I did as a teenager were to get at him for what he was doing to me. So it was kind of like I couldn't date, or he would, you know, come up to the school, or he would tell me, yeah, you can't call boys on the phone, or, you know, so I didn't have that. You know, even if they were a friend, I couldn't call them, I couldn't do anything, you know. It was kind of like he tried to keep me away, you know, from dating, because it's kind of like I was his, I call it a play toy, a plaything. I wasn't a daughter, you know, I was kind of like a side person or a chick or something to him, you know.
Maybe mistress. That could even be the word in his head.
Right. It's just weird, you know. It's very weird, very, you know, gross to me, you know, to think that my dad, you know, thought of me as that, not a daughter, you know, but something else, you know. So
So was there any other, like, people saying that he was doing this to other girls, or? It
came out eventually, and I never knew. I mean, you have, like I told you about my blog, you know, to write a blog and to hear some of the stories, I'm like, oh my goodness, like I would have never known that you've came in contact with him. So this has been going on for a long time, but I've never known until now.
Okay. So the day that you finally got the courage to say, you know what, I'm going to tell somebody.
Yes.
Like, what, can you go through that day? Do you remember?
I remember I was at church, and I think I got in trouble that night because I was passing a note to a boy. And so I guess my dad, we were all in the car going home, and my dad brought it up, or I don't know if it was my dad or my mom, but one of them brought it up and said, well, you're going to get in trouble when you get home. You're going to get a whipping, etc., because you know you're not supposed to be passing notes, you know, in church. Of course, we know that. So we get home. My mom's about to whoop me. I have my clothes off. I said, this is it. Because, you know, he's trying to bribe her. He's bribed her all the time to get me out of whooping. So that's the majority of my life. Like some of the things that I got in trouble for, he would get me out of them if I did what he wanted me to do.
Wow.
And some of those times, no, I didn't do what he wanted me to do. You know, I just said, okay, thank you, you know, for getting me out of that whooping.
Yeah.
But you think you know, you playing the wrong person today, you know. So it was kind of like I'm fed up. And so I told my mom, she was about to, you know, you got that hand struck back. I said, I'm not taking no licking, you know. So I just busted out. I said, my dad has been touching me. And she went, you know, they say bananas, you know. It's kind of like, and she brought him in there and she asked him, have you been, you know, the mom in her, have you been doing it? And he just bluntly said no. And so from there, it just continued downhill for me. You know, I'm just like.
And how old were you then?
I think I was about 17, actually.
Okay.
About 17 or about 16, somewhere in there.
So
Yeah.
he denied it.
He denied
And
it completely.
your mother, what was her stance? Was she just didn't know what to believe?
I don't think she knew what to believe, because as a mother, you know, you're mad. Like, she was mad. I heard glass and everything, you know. So it's kind of like, oh my goodness, we left that same day. You know, and then they took me to the interrogation room to make sure I was saying the right stuff and to make sure that I was, I guess, that it was true. I guess I don't really know, because at the time I'm already broken, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I've told on what he said he didn't do it, and now I'm getting questioned. I guess that's normal. I don't know what's normal anymore, you know, but at that time, I'm like, you know, you asking me all the questions, you know, let's go ask him, you know. So that's how it was.
So she asked.
Yeah.
And like, what is the timeline to where your mom finally believed you and everybody else believed you? And
I would say she believed me, and I don't know what it took, but she believed me. She did. My grandmother and my aunt, they totally believed me.
Okay.
You know, it was kind of like, I already know something was up with him. You know, you didn't have to tell me. I just knew something was going on, you know. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, like I say, the church is kind of like.
So how did the church, who went and told the church?
Well, my mom, I guess, like I said, I don't know what age I was, but I was, I guess, still in the time being with my mom, where I was still at that age where I had to live with my mom. You know, I wasn't out on my own. So we went to speak to the pastor, or the first lady rather, and so we told her what happened. I guess they came up with a conclusion, hey, you're not going to be here anymore. Kicked him out the church, you know. I guess people were like, oh my goodness, you know, what this is, you know, so I'm already in the face of the church people.
Exactly.
And I'm coming to church, people looking at me, and I actually had people to walk up to me and say, he didn't do it, you know, and they told me in my face, he didn't do that. Why are you making up a lie? You know, so I had to deal with that. You know, they call it persecution in the church, you know, but we shouldn't be persecuting each other, you know. Not that you know, they didn't grow up with me. They don't know in and out of it, but for them to just believe him, it still hurts. I mean, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't bother me to this day, but at that time, it kind of bothered me, you know. I was still in the depressed state of mind, you know. Yeah. The church people don't believe me, so who in the world can I go and tell? Who can I talk to? You know, who can I run to?
And that's what really needs to be shared. That, you know, of course, there's some kids that have this, you know, vivid imagination at times and do make up things. But,
we do.
You know, you got to do your due diligence and really see what happened, because it can lead to depression, and suicide is crazy amongst abused kids.
Right.
So it's very important to, and if you have adults in church treating you that way, who do you think you can turn to?
Exactly.
You know, who do you think you can turn to? So when you finally came out and told your mom and your grandma, and what happened from there? Was it like a legal thing? Did y'all go report it to the police?
It became a legal thing, and I guess I was supposed to go and tell the courts or whomever they wanted me to go report it to say, you know, hey, let them know that you did this, or let them know that he did this to you. And I guess that day we were going to wherever we were going for me to put down my testimony. They're very adamant about me going in and saying no, that it didn't happen. So, and my dad was there, you know, so it was, you know, another confusing situation, but he was there in the car. I guess they were trying to... So
when you say they were adamant about you saying no, who is they?
I would just say, I don't know. My mom, she was probably scared to death, and she was just sitting in the background, you know. But I know for sure he was the one wanting me to be very adamant about me saying no, he didn't do this. I guess for him to be free of life like everyone, you know. So I went in there, I signed my name saying I guess I didn't do it, but you know, the thing that still gets me to this day is that the lady called my grandmother's house and they told my grandmother, we know that she's lying. We know that this did not, or this happened to her. It happened. And we can't do anything because she's now signed that nothing has happened. So now he carries whatever he carries in his wallet to show people that this is why, you know, whatever, you know, she's lying. I have this card saying
where
that
she signed it.
Where she signed it saying I didn't do anything. So that's another way to manipulate people, you know what I mean? So the church people, you would think they're very smart, you know, like I say, for me, the Holy Ghost gives us wisdom. You know, that's what we were taught. You know, the Holy Ghost gives us wisdom, you know, to be very clear-minded of, you know, things that the enemy can bring upon us, but no, they are believing every bit of what he's saying. So, you know.
So is he, you know how there can be just like some really awkward people, just mannerisms. Is he like that, or is he just kind of like a normal person? Because when you talk about him,
now when I look at him, I can't really look at him without seeing a smirk on his face. You know, to me, that's very scary because, you know, when I first saw him back at the church, it's kind of like, oh my goodness, like, wow, you know, we speak about what we learn about in church, how the enemy can give a person over, or the Lord can give you over to yourself, you know, and I believe to this day that's what has happened. He's believing the lies that he's told people. So for him to believe those lies, he's just made up in his mind, hey, I didn't do it. I'm good. Nothing happened. I guess he's just, to me, that's kind of sane, you know, insane for a person to say something like that, but you know, it happened. I'm not crazy, it happened. But let me just make sure it happened. You know, it's kind of like you having to second guess what happened to yourself because he's saying that he didn't do it. So that's where I am. I think about that quite often. You know, am I really? You know, and I have to question. You know, I'm not lying.
I've been now definitely nothing as severe as what you're talking about, but I've been in a situation with manipulators, and I'm like, wait a minute, am I tripping? Like, did this really happen?
Exactly.
So,
like, I know it happened.
Yes,
it
you know
happened.
It did, but that's what manipulators can do.
I mean, he's I said he should have went into acting because he would have been a great actor. You know, it's really good acting.
Yes. Wow. Okay. So, did that break up the marriage?
I don't really know. I mean, at the time, I would think so. It was kind of like, we just going to break ties, you know. So, me as a married woman right now, if that ever, you know, we're just going to break ties. We're not going to be together, you know.
Right.
You did something to my child, you know. So, it's kind of like we have to go our separate ways. And so, like I said, in the midst of that, after that, you know, other things came up with other young women. They were saying, he did this to me. And I'm like, oh, my goodness. Like,
were they in the church as well?
They were in the church as well. So, I mean, you have, and there's quite a few. Like I said, when I wrote the blog, a lot of people came and they just reached out to me individually, say I had this type of experience, not necessarily sexual, but just a weird conversation that he would have with them.
Something that was not right.
Exactly, at their age, you know. So it's kind of like, oh my goodness, wow, I never would have ever known that he was doing this in the church, you know. So
you found support through the blog.
I did.
So was that your like first step into like self-healing?
I think so, you know, and I never could talk about it without crying. And you know, and to me, it's kind of like I've excelled, you know, I'm grateful, you know, to God. I give him all the praise because without him, we can do we can do nothing. So I'm just grateful that I was able to overcome that barrier and that, you know, that wall, because I think that would have just kept me in a depressed state, you know, not sharing, because not sharing, I've only shared it to my husband, you know, that was it.
Yeah.
Until the blog, everybody knew, you know,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, whoa, where is
Yeah.
she coming from? Where is all this coming from? You know, wow, she's just now saying something, but it's not the case. I've been saying something.
Yeah,
You know,
and
so.
you just decided to do the blog. Now, did you see like
Exactly.
someone else that had experienced the same thing as you write a blog about it, and you were like,
I
you know
just did
what?
it myself.
That's just
Actually,
something you
just
was,
something I did because
inspired to
you
do.
know, I just was inspired because I'm like, I need to help somebody. You know, I want to help other people. You
Yeah.
know, men and women. You know,
Yeah.
children, whoever. You know, I just want to help someone else.
Okay, that is great. So, what is everybody else's in the family relationship with your dad? Are there still
don't know,
like your
because
brother? Does your brother still communicate?
He does not communicate with him. And I guess my brother, he's old enough. He's 20 something, so he's old enough to understand what happened. And he was there, like I said, he described an incident where he even saw something going on. I never knew that my brother even knew what was going on. So that kind of hurt my heart a little bit to have him to know that something, you know, he experienced that. But like I said, my dad, it was just a weird relationship. He would watch porn while we're at the house. You know, my brother and I. So it's kind of like, it's kind of strange to watch porn while your children are at home.
Yeah.
You know, and you just, you know, masturbating in front of them where we can actually see these things, you know. So it's kind of, that's the type of house that we grew up, or that's the type of dad we had. Let me just say that. My mom had nothing to do with his actions, you know.
Yeah.
It was him. So.
That is wild. So, I know you said he had gotten kicked out of the church, but is he back now?
He is back, and that's
so
okay.
how long was the hiatus from him being gone?
It was some years.
Okay.
Some years.
And so I guess is it the same preacher?
No, it's not. It's not. But you know, like I say, everyone is welcome to the church. You know, we understand that, and you know, I think he tried to make it to where it was okay for him to come back. Because he's a very good manipulator, and he has a way of twisting his words, crying when it's not cued, and you know, so he has a way for people to believe, and he has a way of making people believe his every word. You know, we believe in being saved and filled with the Holy Ghost, and you know, just having the Spirit of God living in us. But how can you say you have that when you did the things that you did and still consider yourself going around telling people that you're not, or you never done it ever?
So, so he won't even own up to it.
He will not own up to it. But you know, I don't get it, and I'm not looking for an apology. They say, well, yeah, you need an apology so you can move on. No, I don't. You know, if he ever said, hey, I'm sorry, you know, I love you, forgive me, okay, I'll accept the apology. I've forgiven him. But you know, they always say you can forgive, but you'll never forget.
Yeah, you never forget.
And that's the place, you know, that I am right now. So.
So when you physically lay eyes on him, I guess the only place you lay eyes on him is at church.
Right, since everything happened. I was like 17, I'm 30,
Yeah.
you know, so I haven't seen him for years. And when he finally showed back up, he had the nerve to call my name, you know, and I'm turning around like, oh my goodness, is that, you know, my dad, you know. So I was warned that he came back. So I was already prepared to see him because like I said, our family has been going there for years.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of like everybody knows me, the little redhead with the freckles, you know. So
Yeah, everybody knows you.
it's very common. So they know who I am.
That
And for him to
be.
come back and people to know the story and people to look at me and look at him walking down the aisle to come back and say I've rejoined the church, or you know, I'm just sitting there and all like, oh my goodness, this is so real. You know, it's real. I have to look at you again and relive those moments again because you'll never forget. But when he wasn't there, I don't think I've ever thought about it like I have now.
Yeah,
like I used to.
Obviously, because it's in front of your face.
Right,
so now
exactly.
It's coming back. And so you were also telling me that a lot of stuff is just fuzzy. You can't even.
I can't. I have no picture memory.
Like
I have
details.
no recollect. I have nothing.
So why do you think that is?
I just think because it was just a very traumatic experience, you know, for me to have went through. And I know we all share experiences, but this one for me was just the top of the cake for me, you know. I don't think we would ever see ourselves in a situation until it actually happens. And then we're like, God, why did this happen to me, you know?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, I just put you there for a season, you know. I had to let you go through that so you can come out with a testimony, you know, to share it to other people, you know. So I'm just excited and grateful because you know, it's not that I'm excited to have went through that because I was broken, I was hurt, you know. I didn't know how to love, you know. You know, your father's supposed to teach you some things, you know, as a young lady, but I never had that experience, so I
Yeah.
don't know what that experience is like. I've just asked God to show me what it means for a father to love his daughter,
Yeah.
and God has done that for me. So I'm just, like I said, I'm just grateful.
Right. So you know how with anything, like our experiences make us and have us behave in certain ways. Like, have you seen as an adult now, like negative behaviors that you've kind of entailed due to the abuse?
I think I don't think I would say negative behaviors, but excuse me, I think I would just say, because I'm married, so it's kind of difficult to, I guess, not be so independent, because I'm like, I can do everything on my own. I didn't have a man to show me this. I can just do it myself. I took up I was in college working 3 jobs. I was good. That was just something that I knew. But when you get married, it's kind of like you're joining together. And I had to understand what that actually meant for a man to help you, for him to love you, So that's what I learned. And I don't think it was I guess for me, I would cry a lot. Because I was so sensitive, I guess, to how my husband would say little things. I would take it so personally, but it wasn't that. It was just him loving me, and showing me love. So I appreciate him.
Yeah, I guess because you just weren't used to feeling that from a man. So,
exactly.
Yeah, it was kind of foreign to you.
Very foreign.
Oh gosh. Well, that is a heck of experience, definitely, everything that you've done. So what is like the major goal now? Because you say you have the blog. Like, what is it that you want to do to help the next victim?
I want to get out there and start a nonprofit organization. I haven't come to a clear detail of what I would like to do, but I know I would like to start a nonprofit organization for those who have been sexually abused as a child. And I want to write a book. So with the blog, that was, part of, me telling that. So I want to come out with a book of my own. So Survivor in the Storm is just something that I think would help others to go through, or who have went through that experience, to grow even the more spiritually and even naturally and physically as well. So
yeah, that is amazing. It is a good story. So because I know sometimes I can kind of say, like, there's been some horrible things done to me by an ex, okay? And so sometimes when I'm like, you know what, I'm going to do X, Y, Z, and they might deserve it, I'll feel guilty still, because, it's like the love is still there. Like, do you ever have any feelings of guilt, like if you come out with this book or anything, that you're going to be hurting your father, or you just don't care?
Not at all. I am to the point to where, you hurt me, you're going to sit here and, still tell people you didn't do this, blah, 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 but I'm going to show you, and I guess that's not what I would like my story to be about, me so much getting at him, because I want to help others. So that's not my goal, but I mean, that's just the purpose, because I just want him to know, you didn't hurt me. I'm here. I graduated, I have a family, I have children, I'm happy, I'm living life, and I'm grateful for that, so it's not so much to where I'm getting at him. But yes, I wouldn't feel guilty at all if I wrote the book. I mean, I put out the blog, I posted this picture in the blog of him being in the newspaper. So it's kind of like, I'm not afraid anymore.
Okay. Well, that's good. So if you could go back to like the age where you finally figured out, okay, this ain't right, what would you have done differently at that time when you knew that he was not right for what he was doing?
I began to stop him, actually. I would not let anything go forth anymore. Even though I didn't say anything, it was kind of like, you're not doing this anymore to me. This is not going to happen. This is it. I just thought about sometimes going down and getting a knife and just, it just comes to that, conclusion, because now I think about what I could have done differently, but I think I would have been in a juvenile or something, because, of protecting myself, because I would have went all at it if I knew he was such a wimp, or if I knew he wasn't going to do anything. I've experienced him putting a pillow over my face because I said, I'm gonna scream, or, he put a pillow over my face. That just took the cake from me. I'm like, I'm not afraid anymore.
Yeah.
I'm tired of being afraid.
That's good. That is good. So you now have children. You have about to be 1.
Yes.
And what was the other 2 ages?
He's going to be 6, and I have an almost 3-year-old.
Okay, almost 3-year-old. So now what do you tell them? Like, as far as, stranger danger, just like, do you find yourself being overly protective because of what happened to you?
I don't think I find myself being overly protective because they're always with me. So I guess that's a good thing. But when they're even not, and even when we're just in our relaxation time, I'm just, hey, if anyone touches you there, make sure you go tell. Who do you go tell?
Yes.
Have them to repeat it. Who do you go tell? You go tell your teacher, or you tell your mom and dad. You tell me what happened. So yes, I find myself doing that very often.
Yeah. Well,
even to the baby, he's like 8 months. So it's kind of like, oh my goodness, I have to stop this. So
yeah, and so that could very well come from the trauma part. If you tell
right,
the 8-month-old, like, look,
and it's all in joking.
Yeah.
I love my children. It's all in joking. But, you never know how a situation, how you could react after, have you have children, I have children. So I would never have thought that I would be telling my children, hey, be careful. I have to tell another human to be careful because of what I experienced. So
yeah, okay. So the blog, where is it? What's the address for that?
It's under Surviving the Storm. It is through Wix.com. So I'm not sure if you can find me, but it is under Kaysha Hawkins, Surviving the Storm. So you should be able to Google it, and the web address should pop up. I don't know it by heart because it's very long.
Yeah, I'm sure it is long. Yeah. So, okay. But
the Wix blog,
you can find if someone wants to go there.
Yes.
And now, do you have any timeline that you want to have this book complete by?
I'm thinking, Angel. I've thought about it. It is difficult,
Yeah.
And I don't want years to pass by, and I'm like, I'm still trying to write a blog or still trying to write a book,
Yeah.
10 years later, I'm 30, so I'm like, I have another timeline I want to meet, something before 40. So about 35, I plan to have this book on out and
that's good.
published.
By 35, hey, that's a good goal. I
Yes.
think that's a pretty good goal. Okay. Well, Kaysha, this has been really, really good. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your story, because I know it can be difficult, but it seems like you've done all the hard work, and you're at a point now where you're just ready to take off. You're just ready to take off, let the world know that you're here, and you got a story, and you can help these kids out, or anybody, kids, adults, because you have people coming out at 30, 40 years old. Hey, I was molested by so-and-so and things like that. So you just never know who you can help. So I really commend you. I really do for this and standing up for yourself. And I just appreciate you coming to Bonafide Talks with Angel and Amber.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Yes. So until next time we talk. All right.